Hi guys, trying this on my phone now. Let's see if I can add Chaney. Okay, Chaney wants to be in the video. Let me add him in. Just 1 second, I'm adding.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I had to get on mobile as well, so I think it's I think to go live. I'm not sure you can chat over
Yeah, looks like
computer or not.
it's mobile only. Hey, Kurt.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Great. Okay, so maybe let's give another 5 minutes
Sure.
or so, and then we can reconvene. Yeah.
Huh, I didn't realize that that all my Facebook friends could see it and join in too. Interesting.
Yeah, I kind of did this on public, so anyone can see this,
Ah,
including all of my non-crypto friends. So
interesting. Well, I may have lots of questions after this goes live. We'll see how this goes, and I'm not sure how many of my friends and family know that I'm entrenched in the crypto world, so maybe
yeah,
new learning experience for everybody. So I know that
can you
many people won't understand what's going on here. What's up?
sure. Can you see the commentaries?
Let me see if I can. I saw them pop up briefly, but let me see here. How do I get them to stay?
I see them on my screen. I don't know if you know Kurt. He is my partner at White
Oh
Rabbit.
yeah, yeah, cool.
Okay, yeah, he's saying nice things about you in the comments.
Well, good. No, I saw something pop up, but I wasn't quick enough there.
Yeah, I don't know how. I have both my computer screen and laptop
If I
screen.
click post, there we go. If I click post at the bottom there, I
Okay.
can see. Hey, Kurt. I'm glad everybody's saying great things. So, how did you get into this before we start? Tell me a little bit about how what White Rabbit.
Yeah, so I started about 2 years ago. So uh, I can't remember what exactly dragged me into this, but I think some of my friends or maybe someone I followed on Facebook started posting, um, one post after another about this crypto thing, and I started looking. So I'm actually pretty new, right? 2 years, that's nothing compared to other people. And then I just kind of started digging and learning more and more, and listening to podcasts, reading all of the books. Digital Gold was the first book I
Mm-hmm.
read, and I've been just reading everything about crypto for nonstop for like half a year, just familiarizing myself with it. And it was kind of relatively easy transition for me, even though I'm not on the developer side. I come from the finance background,
Okay.
so my background is in asset management. So some of the concepts were pretty near and dear to me. And then about a year ago, almost a year ago actually, I met with Kurt and then Ben Sigmund, and they invited me to join White Rabbit, which we launched about a year ago in January. That's how I met. Basically, that's how I met everybody else, because they're very well connected, and I got to know a bunch of people through them.
Very good. So
Kurt is saying,
you've actually got a little bit more experience than I do. So
"Oh,
two
okay."
years in, you're a veteran by those terms. Uh, I
Okay.
actually have a finance background myself. So
Oh, okay.
uh, I started out in college looking at being an electrical engineer, did 3 years, and decided to turn to finance there so I wouldn't lose all my math and differential equations and all that good stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then got my undergrad in finance and a master's of economics in real estate. And we'll get there, Kurt. And so when I got into crypto, it was just because a friend talked me into some of the passive income aspects of it, and some of the projects were out there, and started doing some research and found EOS and really liked the project and kind of jumped all in. When the project was launched, back in June, we're all just kind of sitting back and watching things happen, and we started seeing block Twitter spam coming through in July and August, and then EOS Nights came out, and EOS Bet came out, and a few of those other projects started launching, and users started having problems actually interacting with the blockchain. Right? We had CPU constraints. People didn't really understand what was going on. People didn't know how to react and didn't know what CPU meant on the EOS blockchain. And what we saw really people that just would get over their usage and couldn't even stake. Couldn't stake more CPU for their own account. And so that's where the brainchild for CPU emergency came from. It was really intended to be a community service project. And so we created it, set up the website, created a smart contract. But it's the cool thing about it is you don't have to have any CPU to get it. It's the front end is simply a website. Front end is simply a off-chain website where the back end is tied to the blockchain. So people can just go put their account name in there, and they could get enough CPU to get their accounts unlocked, and then from there they could stake for themselves. And
sure, and it's instantaneous, right?
it usually there's some back end checks. It's usually between 5 to 15 seconds, depending on how the network is. Okay. So what happened next is we saw EOS Bet and referrals, and people in there begging the admins for CPU. Well, we thought, well, we give CPU, why not give a little bit more, right? And so in exchange for referrals, we went ahead and would stake, had a ref code, I would stake CPU to people that wanted to keep on dicing. And honestly, it became somewhat lucrative. We were in their Telegram channels a lot. The admins there saw us and saw what we were doing and thought, hey, that's pretty good. How about we integrate you with the DApp? And so they put us directly on the website. It wasn't something we ever had any intention of partnering with them or affiliating ourselves with them. It just it grew naturally. And
so I think
go ahead.
Outside of the wallets, you're basically the only other service that's integrated directly into those dApps, right?
Correct. That's correct. There are no.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So what led from there was us reaching out directly to other dApps, and now we're integrated with almost 20 right now. Everything from Everpedia, EOS Nights. To right now, our biggest customer is BetDice, and so just for example, in the last 2.5 weeks, we've delegated over about almost 500,000 EOS of CPU to these dApps, right? And to, I think, if I remember correctly, about 7,000 independent users across all these dApps, and that's also the free 1.5 EOS that we give to anybody that still needs help. Kurt asked, are we in links? Yep, we are in links. We're in IM Wallet, IM Token, More Wallet, Token Pocket. We are show up in Scatter as well, and we've been talking to Graymass about getting integrated there as well.
So just so that we understand, basically the idea is that you borrow some of the free EOS from some of the whales out there that they're sitting on a large pile, and then you're lending it to whoever needs it, right?
Well, actually, right now, this is all self-owned EOS at this point. I have 2 partners in the project. We are the ones that fund CPU emergency, And we do have one other partner outside that let us install a smart contract onto his account to lend
Okay.
EOS, to delegate. It's a delegate only contract, allows us to delegate to users. So
Okay.
so
So I saw your tweet a couple of days
mhm,
ago asking if anyone wants to lease 106,000
right.
EOS, which is pretty significant amount of money. So what is that for then?
Sure. So one of the things that is a problem right now, even with Shintai, is the ability for dApps to find large quantities of EOS to lease for their CPU. So, for example, BetDice has so many transactions that they need millions of EOS staked to be able to perform and keep up with the number of users and number of volume that they have. So actually, what we are doing is we're an over-the-counter trading platform for CPU. We act as both the agent and the escrow officer. So because of our integration with all these dApps, well, I'll tell you, we fell into it again, quite honestly. We were integrating with a dApp. There was a CPU crunch, and they said, hey, can you please help us out? We need to borrow 40,000 EOS of CPU right now. And we scrambled around and agreed to a rate and lent to them within about 10 minutes, and they were back up and running. And we said, well, there's obviously demand for this. Let's go ahead and roll it out. And so
Yeah.
we have a book of business now. We have, honestly, probably about 3 dozen lenders with over 10 million EOS available. And on the other side, we have lent to about 7 or 8 different dApps over time, anywhere from 50,000 to 1.3 million EOS.
Wow, that's insane.
And so the problem you have with Shintai right now is really a couple of issues from the perspective of a whale. One, you actually have to send your EOS to a smart contract. You lose your you lose your care, custody, and control of your EOS. And
Your voting rights.
yeah, so you lose. Not only do you not have control of that until such time as someone takes that lease, you also lose your voting rights. And if you think about it, a lot of these whales may be, or let's see, how do the deals with dApps work? Okay, I'll get to that, Kurt. These whales may be VPs, right? They may not want to lose their vote when when you or a whale sends their EOS to Shintai. Shintai votes their proxy, right? They vote the proxy. It's changing, but right now it is set up in a way where the people that set up Shintai get the votes. So
Yeah.
they're VPs, right? And so they have a vested interest in making sure that the votes go their way. The other thing,
They're supported by a few VPs, right? I think is
yes,
EOS New York
that's correct.
one of them.
I forget exactly. I know that it was EOS 42 was the main propagator of Shintai. And don't get me wrong, it's great service. It's just there are some reasons that large owners may not wish to put it there. And the other thing that I think they're working on and may have a fix for soon is you don't get any airdrops. Any snapshots that occur during this period don't hit your wallet. So they haven't, as far as I know right now, they have not yet fixed that issue. Now,
so sorry to interrupt, but if they eventually fix that issue, is that gonna mean trouble for you then? Are people gonna just start using Shintai rather than
no, I don't think so. I think that that large owners still won't want to send their EOS there, and there's not enough. The volume is not there. If you look on Shintai, it's very thin. You look at it, and there are small orders of a few hundred to 1,000 to 20 or 30,000. You're not going to be able. You could eat up the entire book with a million EOS request and be paying way more than you could through my service. So, what happens? Going back to it, since the question was asked, we we integrate with these dApps. We know these developers. They trust us. We've worked with them for weeks or months now, and so we negotiate rates with them. We bring these rates back to the lenders. We figure out which lender is willing to accept these rates, and then we, from there, get the payment from the dApp, and we hold on to that payment. So let's say we agree that they want a 28-day lease of 1,000,000 EOS. Well, that may be 0.5%. And so they would send us that lease. They would send us 5,000 EOS. And then we would take our commission off that. And then after a week of that time period, we would send, of the lender delegating, we would send him that week's payment. So we act like an intermediary here just right now. And to make sure that the contract is obligated and obligation is fulfilled. Really?
And it's all done through the smart contract?
I'm sorry?
All of this is done through a smart contract?
Actually, no. It's actually off chain. It's we're acting as a escrow agent. It's large enough, and the volume, we have about a little over 3 million EOS leased right now. So I saw a question on there about is 0.5% about average? No, that's probably a little high right now. The market has shifted downward lately. More people have come on and offered other ways to get. I think Huobi and a few other lenders are out there competing with us. So it varies. 0.375 to 0.4% might be a more accurate rate for anything over 1 million to 5 million EOS, I would think right now.
That's 0.4%
for 28 days.
For 28
so
days, okay.
We see anything on right now on like a 1 week lease for 100,000 or more. Somewhere between 1.15 and 0.2%, depending on what the lender needs to have.
Okay, so basically, just to get an idea what the annual rates are, that tweet that you had you said for a weekly rate of 0.14%.
Yes.
Right. That's something like 7.5% annualized rate, I think.
Yeah. So you have to. It could be. So what you have to remember is there is a 3-day unstaking period. So if you multiply that by 52, then you're right. You get up to a 7% annual return.
Okay. Yeah, there's 3 days on both ends.
Well, not on both ends. There's only 3 days on one end. So you can assume if it is truly a weekly basis. So one of the other positives or things that we do have a little more advantage of than Shintai is we can renew and roll over leases. So if dApp says, well, I think I want it for a week, and we've had this happen where we're in week 6 or 7, right? So they even though they said, oh, they want this, and they're paying the weekly rate, they may have rolled it over, so you don't have that 3-day unstaking period. But what'll happen though, if it is a true week-to-week rate, then it's really more like a 10-day period, and so you can assume 35 periods. So 35 times 1.4, you're still looking at a 5 to 7% rate. So Kurt's right. We hold. There's really no risk of loss because if the borrower pays in advance. So even before the lender will go out and stake or delegate to the dApp. So there's no risk there. And then if the only risk would be the lender deciding they want to do something else with their EOS, and let's say in day 4 or day 5 they unstaked, the risk would be that the developer might have a short period of time where we scramble to get him another delegation, but we would refund him that entire week's payment back. So that's really the only risk that we have associated with our service. And we have not
Mm-hmm.
seen.
How many people you have in your project?
Right now, there are three partners.
Sorry, some latency here.
Yeah, we have a little bit here.
Okay.
We have three partners. In addition to that, we have a person that helps me, just joined here last week, Justin Buck, that helps me with the leasing. He's joined in. He's actually a trader, so he's very well aware of how this works. Then we have another person that helps us with DAP integration. He's in Telegram. He goes by Wilfred in Telegram. And in addition to that, we've just brought on another individual to kind of help us manage the back end of CPU emergency for users, to make sure that we're not failing people or giving too much CPU, et cetera, to just keep an eye on everything. Unfortunately, we all have day jobs still, right? This is a side gig. We can't devote our full time to it. So there's lots of things we could do to make it better. Unfortunately, with $3 EOS, it won't support our lifestyles or our families or anything of that nature just yet. Maybe when we get.
I was just gonna ask that. Did that affect you in any way? Sorry, guys, some latency here again.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Now. We're actually putting everything that we make back into the project, so we actually haven't taken any dividends, and we're going to have to explore now that we are a Texas limited liability company now, so we're going to have to worry about income taxes and all that good stuff sooner rather than later, just to make sure that we stay whole. But that'll probably be the first time we really take any funds out of the project, to make sure we're in compliance with local governments.
Right. So are you working right now only with the gaming dApps? Are there any other? You said I think you're supporting 20 projects right now.
Right. Gaming dApps are primarily where the CPU is utilized right now.
That's what's driving the volume.
That's what's driving the volume. That's correct. So, yes and no. We have integrated with Everpedia. We do have an embed page. People can get CPU for editing Everpedia if they run into issues. We have an agreement. I like EOS Nights. We don't have a referral for EOS Nights, but we do have a minimum delegation of CPU for EOS Nights users. And we have had preliminary discussions with a few other non-gaming dApps. Lumios, they're the dApp that will do the surveys. That's right. That's right. So Kurt asked me, how does marking pricing affect costs? Well, really, it doesn't. It's from the lender borrower side. It's all in EOS. The percents are all paid out in the same currency. It's not going back to dollars or any other currency. So that really doesn't affect anything at all. Nothing changes there. Nothing is converted. And he asked, does a dApp EOS account user need to opt in or out, or can it be done on the fly? I don't understand that one, Kurt. What are you saying there? Oh, well, anyway, yeah, we're always looking for new dApps. If anybody, and we are constantly being contacted by new dApps in development. We recently integrated with a few that are just starting out. And so we're helping them get started. We helped Wiz Network get up and get enough CPU to run their war game. They have a new little war game. I don't know if you've ever played War. It's pretty simple. But we're always looking for new dApps to integrate with. So if any of your watchers out there think of a dApp that they want to make sure they have enough CPU to play, please feel free to introduce us.
If you've seen the new, relatively new announcement of the investment in that gaming platform, I forgot the name of it, that's comprised of
Oh yeah,
various developers from Blizzard and Yahoo and Activision. I forgot the name. Seems like they're developing some really cool games there.
it does.
Warcraft type
So
quality games, which is pretty exciting.
yeah, that will be interesting to see how they interact with the blockchain. I'm not entirely sure how they will do that. I imagine that there will be unique items and certain things that will probably only be written to the blockchain, maybe at logging in and logging out. I don't imagine that every transaction may be written to the blockchain. I don't know if it'll be like EOS Nights. Have you played EOS Nights?
I haven't yet, no.
Okay, so anytime you find new items, anytime you craft new items, sell items, destroy items, that is a complete transaction. And I don't think you can have that in a World of Warcraft-like game. I think they would have to only track the individual items that you find. I think that it's mythical games, by the way. I think that you will only have certain certain transactions that will occur. So they may not be quite as intensive as some of these other dApps. But you know what? You're right. Maybe I need to go ahead and make their acquaintance. That doesn't sound like a bad idea.
So it sounds like that you have basically two types of cash flows. The first one is the commissions that you're receiving as an intermediary. And then the second one is people using your reference code,
That's
right?
correct.
When they are playing those games. Which one is more beneficial to you, I guess? Like, is there even a way to figure out how much you're making from the reference codes? Because I haven't seen that.
Right.
I haven't seen.
No, you're right. The ref codes actually are much more integral to what we do. The lending fees are kind of secondary. They're really just a part of us trying to provide a whole suite of services for dApps, not only user delegations, but trying to make sure dApps can be fully integrated and provide extra service there. So
Yeah, like if I go to one of those blockchain explorers like blocks.io, for instance, and I look at my history of my account transactions there, I see that these transactions had a reference back to you, so I can see that.
yes.
But I don't know if anyone is using my referral codes. I have no idea.
No,
there's no way for me to do that.
you honestly you can't see that post history, right? You can't see that occur after the fact easily. There's no historical, as far as I know, someone can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, there's no historical blockchain explorer where you can look at the memos or look at the information previously. Now, Blocks does let you filter live transactions. You can go to Blocks live transactions and then filter down based on anything that comes through that transaction. But from what I understand, you can't go back historically. So you're right. I can go back to your account. I can see who your ref code was, but you can't go back to the entire network and look for anybody using your ref code.
Okay, so do you have any idea how much money you're generating? I mean, you don't have to give me numbers, but just
well, yeah, no,
is it a significant amount?
Seriously, we do have to track it. Primarily for income tax reporting purposes. So I do track it daily. I keep a very good ledger of, well, I say very good, a pretty good ledger of our daily transactions, etc. And I'll say it's grown, not exponentially, but in orders of magnitude. First month, wasn't a whole lot. Second month probably doubled, and we've probably tripled over what that was. So it's increasing as we get involved with more dApps, as we see more users come to those dApps, and honestly, as you see fluctuations in the CPU, because we can help people out, give them lots of CPU, and then the network can relax a little bit and they can just blow and go. Do we have a paper
Okay.
ledger? No, that's not the kind of ledger I'm talking about. I'm talking about a ledger tracking what our profits and losses are. So it's a centralized database on my computer.
So just overall, I mean, we are kind of in the middle of this gaming
Mhm.
gambling, I would even say boom right
Sure.
now on EOS, right? So everyone piled into these projects. First we had EOS Bet, then Bet Dice kind of stole their code and ran with it, and now they're, I think they have 5 million EOS volume today, and they've been having that every day now.
Yeah, they're doing good.
What do you, yeah, what do you think? How long that boom is gonna last? Is that another bubble? Like that kind of reminds me of an ICO um, environment about a year ago when
Hmm.
everyone was just piling in all of those shit coins basically
Yeah.
until someone just got left with all the bags, right?
Well,
Some of these projects are clearly pretty crappy. Like some of them are just outright scam or just poorly
yeah,
run. Some of them are really good ones. How long I mean, you probably don't care from your perspective because you're supporting all of them and you should be,
agnostic,
unbiased.
right?
Right. Project agnostic. How long do you think this is gonna run? Is that a real thing?
You know what? I think there will always be some demand. I don't know how much. What you're seeing now is a lot of the volume is driven by people that are mining the tokens, right? People that are
Hmm.
trying to, for example, dice on 96 for as long as they can. Um, Kurt, I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, we will. So yeah, I think that there will always be some volume. It may be a bubble. There will always be some demand. There it may shift from project to project. BetDice has a great thing going for them right now. They have um, lots of new games coming out. Like I think they released Baccarat not long ago. They have
Yep.
Sick Bow coming out I think this week. They have Blackjack coming out a couple of weeks after that. They've got a
Right.
lot going for them. They have their own exchange. They're going to be listed here pretty soon. I think they're going places.
Oh wow.
So I'm not too worried about that. Now online gambling, that's a multi-billion-dollar industry. With
Hmm.
gambling on the blockchain, you're giving access to people in locations where it may or may not uh, be legal, and those people, they
Yeah.
take risks by doing that. So they have to be a little bit careful. Uh,
Hmm.
BetDice and some
Yeah.
others are putting out some really quality games that we think are fair, and they can compete with real casinos. You don't have to put on pants to go out and play a little baccarat or do something like that. You can sit in the comfort of your own home and never leave the house. Which, honestly, you see some war stories out there that people lose their entire bankroll unintentionally, that may never have been exposed to something like that. So be careful when you're doing
Yeah.
that.
And then you have people like what was the account name? Crazy Gambling that
Oh,
bet
there's
something like $1 million
yeah.
worth of EOS in an hour.
Oh, Crazy Capital. Uh,
Crazy
yeah. I
Capital,
mean,
right?
you think about it. He put at the time it was over like $4.5 million across the table in an hour. An hour. I mean, my
Yeah.
goodness. I mean, if you were his ref for that, you would have made you'd have made about 5,000 EOS.
Sure. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we were not his ref for that. So don't, don't. He's probably got his own alt account that he's using there.
Hmm.
But
So Kurt is asking about other
yeah.
EOS sports. Are you gonna
So
go
you're
there?
right. We intend to integrate into both Warbly and Talos when that opportunity arises. Warbly, I think, will be a little bit of a slower start. I listened to a recent podcast with them, and I think they plan on having, probably 6 to 20 dApps come out in the first 3 to 6 months. I don't know if they'll be that transaction intensive, but we definitely, we strategically bought into their ICO and do have enough Warbly tokens, Warbles, so that we can provide resources to users. and the same for Telos. We hope to provide services for Telos. Telos is a little bit different though, or Telos. I always want to call it EOS Telos. Telos is a little bit different. They will provide the necessary system resources to dApps for the first year. So if you want to build a dApp there, you can blow and go for that first year. You don't have to worry about the limitations of the EOS network. So from there, really though, you only have to worry about the users. So hopefully we can still provide some services over there.
Okay. Yeah, he's saying EOS is functioning like a commodity in this context. That's a good point.
Fair,
So.
yeah.
So outside of going into those EOS forks, what are your plans for your business? Anything else, or are you just kind of trying to catch up and cover as many dApps as possible right now?
Right now, EOS is growing so fast. I'm not sure I can expand. We can expand our services too much more. Life is drawn pretty thin as it is between working a full-time job, a family, and then trying to keep up CP emergency. So luckily, we are expanding. We hope to keep people online and looking for dApps and having a few people added to the network over time so they can help us keep this growing. But right now we don't plan on expanding our services. Outside of that, we haven't seen any other opportunities. We would jump on them if we did, but we're running a little bit short on time, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm. I just watched a video yesterday. I can't remember who, one of the YouTubers, who had an opinion, basically talking about BPs and how everyone thinks that BPs, especially top 21 BPs, are making a shit ton of money, which is not really true, considering their operating expenses, buying servers and hiring devs and all that stuff. So he was saying that there might be a level, some sort of a point of no return EOS price at which if it goes below that, it's going to become really unprofitable for those BPs to exist. Is there such level for you guys?
No, because our costs are negligible. We don't have really at the end of the day a whole lot of, we don't have any real infrastructure, a couple of laptops, right? Really, it's pretty simple with what we do from a hardware standpoint. So no, and our developer is a third partner. We have another partner that helps out with the website and does some legal aspects and helps with some dApp integrations. And then I'm here helping out with dApps and leasing and kind of acting as the public relations person, if you will. So really our fixed costs are pretty minor.
Right.
And our employees are getting a cut based on business that they bring in and manage. So really there's no real fixed costs except for some outside development work that we're having done and a little bit of self-leasing for the one person that's helping us to lend to others. So really, no, we could take it down to $1 and not change anything except have broken hearts.
Sounds good. Yeah, well, Chaney, thank you very much. I mean, it's really amazing business that you guys are running. I really like the idea that you're integrated in all of these dApps that I enjoy participating in. Yeah, and yeah, it's really a good place to be, I think.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your services.
I'll give it a little shout out here too, since I've got you on the line. I've recently been named a custodian for AirDrop Stack. So I don't know if you know AirDrop Stack, DAC.
Okay.
So just another shout. It's basically another essentially resource planner to help out with projects with their airdrops. So switching from CPU to RAM real quick.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest cost of dropping tokens for a project is paying for the RAM to drop those tokens to the project. So what airdrops DAC does, and they have a pretty good team if you go out there and check out their website. But Nathan from Genereos is the primary developer for that, for the airdrop stack.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what they do is they provide the RAM. They use their RAM to help airdrop tokens to uh, all all the users out there. All so recently, you probably had Higher Vibes tokens. Did you get your Higher Vibes tokens?
I think I've heard of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you owned EOS recently, then you probably have Higher Vibes tokens in your wallet, as well as ZKS,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Okay.
another token. So you had to make sure.
I have about 40 tokens
I
in my
know, isn't it
wallet.
great? It's wonderful, isn't it?
90% of them are
Yeah,
airdrops.
that's part of the reason I got into EOS is the fun airdrops and being a little bit diversified there.
Yeah.
So make sure you claim those. So you either have to go to EOS Toolkit or do any action. You can move it, you can sell it, you can send one token to somebody else, but basically any action that writes those tokens into your RAM. Because I tell you what happens, if you don't take some action to move those tokens, you technically don't own the RAM for that token contract. And so
Okay.
what'll happen is if the user reclaims or the sender reclaims the RAM, those tokens will can effectively evaporate out of your wallet. The way the token contracts are
Okay.
written. So it's an efficient way and an effective way for projects to airdrop tokens to users, and then cut their costs really low, because if the user doesn't interact with that, say after a 90-day period, or doesn't go to EOS Toolkit and claim it, um, then that user is not an integral or interactive part of their community, if you will. And should that user
Okay.
really have their tokens? Well, that's up to the DApp to decide, but they can cut their costs by a significant portion by doing it this way. So airdrop stacks helps with that. They help with the press. They help with the token economics. They help really guide a project through that process. In addition, they have an additional integration through the founder to help DApps, a development fund, basically an incubator fund. So anybody that wants to try growing a good project and airdrop tokens should look out to Airdrop Stack.
Hmm. There's a new model now. Instead of doing an airdrop, for the reasons that you just described, that it's costly because of the RAM prices, there's a model called AirGrab now,
that's
right? Where you actually have to go and claim your
AirGrab. That's right.
token.
So this is,
and you pay the fees for
you cover the cost of the RAM. Usually, I think it's 200 bytes. It's not much for an individual user, but when you take 200 bytes of RAM fees, you multiply it by 100,000, 200,000 accounts, it adds up pretty quickly. So you're right. It's called an AirGrab.
Sure.
This is a new kind of hybrid model where it's a combo airdrop AirGrab, and they've got some new terms for it, but that's essentially what it is. They'll airdrop it to you, but if you don't either AirGrab it or interact with it, it can be evaporate with the RAM. You don't own the RAM, so just keep that in mind and be on the lookout for it.
Yeah. No, thanks. Thanks for the hint.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Chaney. It's been
Thanks
great.
for having me on. CPU emergency is kind of a little bit of a labor of love, and we've enjoyed doing it, and we appreciate the support from the community. So if anybody has any questions for us, they can reach out to us. Our Telegram channel is CPU911. My handle on Telegram is @RiverKingFisher. They can also find me on Reddit. I'm an admin on Reddit, so if you have any questions, you can look for me there. Or on Twitter, Moore_Chaney. And if you have any questions or concerns, or want to learn more, or figure out if your DApp needs to borrow some EOS or needs to give EOS CPU to its users, find me. I'll be happy to help.
Sounds great. Thanks a
No
lot.
problem.
Have a
You
good
too.
night.